Welcome to this deep dive into one of history's most terrifying dictators, Idi Amin. He was a man feared by millions, a ruler whose brutality shocked the world, and a leader whose rule turned Uganda into a nightmare. But how did a soldier rise to power, transform into a ruthless dictator, and eventually fall in disgrace? Buckle up, because this is the shocking and dramatic story of Idi Amin. Early life v. military beginnings. Idi Amin was born in 1925 in Kiboko, Uganda, under British colonial rule. Very little is known about his childhood, but what we do know is that he had little formal education. His real journey began in 1946, when he joined the British colonial army, the King's African Rifles, KR. Amin was a natural warrior. He was tall, physically imposing, and had a fearless attitude. The British saw his potential and quickly promoted him to sergeant. During the Mau Mau Rebellion in Kenya, 1952 to 1960, Amin made a name for himself as a brutal enforcer. But what made him stand out wasn't just his combat skills, it was his ruthlessness. The British used him for their dirty work, and in return, he got promotions. When Uganda gained independence in 1962, Amin was one of the highest-ranking officers in the new Ugandan army. Rise in the military. In independent Uganda, politics was chaotic. The country's first leader, Milton Obote, wanted a strong military to maintain control. He saw Amin as a loyal officer and promoted him to deputy army commander. But Amin had bigger dreams. By 1970, Obote and Amin had become rivals. Obote started to suspect that Amin was plotting against him, and their relationship soured. Then came the turning point, a bank robbery. Idi Amin and his men stole gold and ivory worth millions from the Democratic Republic of Congo. When Obote found out, he was furious. He planned to arrest Amin. But Amin was one step ahead. The coup of 1971. On January 25, 1971, while Milton Obote was attending a Commonwealth summit in Singapore, Amin struck. He launched a military coup and seized power. Obote had no time to fight back. By the time he returned, Amin was already in control. The people of Uganda cheered. They thought Amin was a hero who had saved them from Obote's corruption. But they had no idea what was coming next, Amin's brutal regime, 1971 to 1979. At first, Amin promised peace and democracy. He portrayed himself as a man of the people. But behind the scenes, he was turning into a monster. 1. Mass executions v. purges. One of Amin's first acts was to eliminate anyone who opposed him. He ordered the execution of thousands of soldiers and political rivals. Bodies were dumped in the Nile River, earning him the nickname, the Butcher of Uganda. The Ekoli and Langi tribes, who had supported Obote, were massacred. Intellectuals, journalists, and judges disappeared overnight. Even his own army officers were not safe. Amin executed generals who he suspected of disloyalty. In just a few years, Amin's death toll reached over 300,000. 2. Expelling Asians from Uganda, 1972. One of the most shocking moments of Amin's rule came in 1972. He expelled over 60,000 Asians from Uganda, giving them only 90 days to leave. These Asians, mainly of Indian and Pakistani descent, had built Uganda's economy. But Amin claimed that God had told him in a dream to remove them. With the Asians gone, Uganda's economy collapsed. Factories shut down, businesses were looted, and inflation skyrocketed. 3. His bizarre persona. Idi Amin didn't just rule with terror, he was bizarre and unpredictable. He declared himself King of Scotland and wrote to the Queen of England, offering to marry her. He gave himself ridiculous titles, including Conqueror of the British Empire. He challenged the US to a boxing match, which, of course, never happened. He would drive through villages in his jeep, randomly killing people for fun. Amin was more than a dictator, he was a madman. International backlash. By 1976, the world had had enough of Amin. His brutal rule made international headlines. The most famous incident was the Entebbe hijacking. Palestinian terrorists hijacked an Israeli plane and landed in Uganda. Amin supported the hijackers and allowed them to hold hostages at Entebbe airport. But Israel responded with a daring commando raid, rescuing the hostages and humiliating Amin. His international reputation was destroyed. War with Tanzania, 1978–79. In 1978, Amin made his biggest mistake. He invaded Tanzania, hoping to expand Uganda's borders. But Tanzania fought back hard, launching a counterattack with the help of Ugandan exiles. By April 1979, Tanzanian forces reached Kampala, Uganda's capital. Amin fled the country, running for his life. Life in exile. After escaping Uganda, Amin found refuge in Libya and later Saudi Arabia. He lived a comfortable life in exile, never facing trial for his crimes. He remained defiant, still believing he had done nothing wrong. In 2003, after years of illness, Idi Amin died in Saudi Arabia. He was never punished for his atrocities. Idi Amin's rule was one of the darkest periods in African history. His dictatorship left Uganda in ruins, killing hundreds of thousands and destroying the economy. Even today, his name is remembered with fear and horror. But his story is a warning: power, when unchecked, can turn even the most ordinary soldier into a monster. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping history lessons. Thanks for watching.